Hi, my name is Ben Foote. I am committed to be the mayor of Ottumwa, Iowa. And as we continue this journey, this conversation, one step at a time, putting our best foot forward, it's extremely important for us to talk about how we do that. What is a way that we can show we are putting our best foot forward? And that really is talking about the first impressions of Ottumwa, the gateways, the entrance points into Ottumwa, Iowa. So somebody that is new, never been to Ottumwa before, coming into the city, what's their first impression? What do they see? For those of us that live inside the city, as we leave to go and visit friends or relatives or go on other trips, and we come back, what is our thinking as we come into this city? What does that look like? And there are actually many entrance locations into the city of Ottumwa. We have the North Gate or North Court frontage road that comes in off of the 4-lane highway. We have Romer Avenue or East Main. We have West 2nd Street. We have East Mary and Highway 63. We have West Highway 34 coming in, well, from the west side. And then that goes into Albia Road and Sherwood. And so there's many different entrances into the city of Ottumwa. Well, as you come into each one of those entrances, you may have a different feeling. You may have a different impression of what Ottumwa is all about and what is Ottumwa based on the businesses that are there, the landscape, just the overall appearance of Ottumwa and how Ottumwa lays out in front of you as you're entering into the city. And I just want you to, if you live in Ottumwa, um, think right now, as you're coming into the different areas of Ottumwa, what's your impression right now? And then try to put yourself in place of someone who has never been here before. What would their first impression be as they come into that entrance? So lately, I've been driving through the different entrances into Ottumwa to kind of see, okay, what would my first impression be? I mean, I'm familiar with all of them for sure, but to look at them from a new lens, a new viewpoint, new perspective, what would be my first impression if this was the first time coming to Ottumwa? I'll tell you, a lot of them don't necessarily give a good first impression, and that's our fault. That's on us. As citizens, we need to be more aware of what first impressions are. We need to be more intentional in making sure that those first impressions of Ottumwa and people coming in are just amazing. So I think there's lots of different ways that we can improve that first impression. First, and maybe the easiest, is just simply landscaping, doing landscape improvements along the different roadways coming into the city. Some of those are easy to do. Some are a little bit more difficult, depending on which entrance we're talking about. Another thing is, as we're talking about business and housing development and growth in our city, is making sure that the business development focuses on some of these entrances, the home improvements, the housing improvements, focus on some of these entrances and do so in a way that now the business types that are going into those entrances are ones that give a good first impression of Ottumwa, Iowa, that the homes along those entrances are ones that give a good first impression coming into Ottumwa, Iowa. Legacy Foundation has been instrumental in lots of different things here in Ottumwa, and many of you may not know that there is a grant program for residential people along East Main Street for improvement along their front entrance, the front face of their houses. And that's simply in a way, one, to help improve the housing, but more so to help improve the entrances and the first impression as people come in to Ottumwa off of the 4-lane. That the furthest east exit on the 4-lane comes in, and you turn on East Main Street, and those homes now have programs available to where those could be improved. Um, the other thing to look at is each one of the opportunities that we have for the 4-lane or Highway 163 and the exits into Ottumwa. There are developmental development opportunities there along each one of those that we have not tapped into. Some of that is because it's private land, which is totally understandable. But as those start to move into a development, I think we can make planning now to ensure that anything that is developed in those areas would meet a higher standard of design. They would meet a design that gives a good first impression of Ottumwa. We could include certain landscape requirements or different things that way these things that are getting developed there are within a certain type of development, a certain type of business development, a certain type of housing. We can use the development in those entrances to beautify those entrances and give a lasting positive first impression. And then let's look at the way the entrance corridors coming from each one of these areas look like now. What are some easy things that we can do right out of the gate? One is if you look at, we have lots of different nonprofit club organizations that have put nice signs together as they're coming into some of those entrances. They need updated. Some of them are in disrepair. And so we need to look at those things and get those updated. Um, with those, I believe that we could bring in some attractive city highlight signage so that as people are coming into the city of Ottumwa, they can start to see signage that would highlight community landmarks and part of Ottumwa, some of which we've talked about here. And along with that, we can also highlight different local restaurants. We could highlight other local venues that are here in this city, more than just a directional signage, but something that gives a great first impression and shows the treasures that are within our city. So that as people are coming into these entrance corridors of the city, they not only have a great first impression, but they continue on looking for the things that make Ottumwa amazing. So those are some of my thoughts on giving the first impression, and really the first impression of Ottumwa, Iowa. That is just another way, and maybe the most important way, that we show that we are putting our best foot forward in Ottumwa. So those are some of my ideas, and we will continue this journey as we talk about other ways that we can put our best foot forward here in Ottumwa, Iowa.